You're not.
Well, the inevitable has just happened. Highguard has officially shut down.
Where's my thing? Where's my thing? This is my toxic thing. Wait, did I typo it? There you go. I don't know why it didn't want to come up. Oh, it's picking up. It's picking up. It's getting there. You know, you don't have to shut it down. It will be fine. It's picking up. We had a 615 peak. Come on.
And the writing was on the wall with this one. Once the game launched and we started to see how fast the game's player base started to crater.
Nah, man, it's okay. That's insane. Dude, we have more people watching this stream than how many people are playing that game. That's actually insane. They must have cooked on this game for years, putting millions into it.
It was just obvious there was no coming back from this,
insane.
especially because of the fact that this is a free-to-play live service, which means that if you don't have a player base who is recurrently spending money on the microtransactions, then there is just no point in continuously spending money on
Microtransactions for me? I saw that actually Joff was tweeting about it. I was like, Jesus, hold the wheel. I cannot quote retweet it. I will not survive if he replies to me one more time. Sorry, Jeff. I always call him Joff. No. I would never. Oh, man, I was blushing like a maiden.
the maintenance aspect of this live service. And now we're at a point where the player base has dipped into the triple digits. And so at that point, yeah, it's nowhere near enough players to make this a viable live service. The writing was also on the wall when about 2 weeks after launch, it was announced that Wildlight would be laying off most of their staff.
Didn't they say that they have like, I don't know, like a year of plan what kind of updates they are going to put on? Can you imagine that this game comes out and you spend a bunch of money to buy like cosmetics or whatever the hell you could buy in it? Do you think you will get the money back since the game was only up for like a month?
While it is not stated here that it's most of the staff, people on LinkedIn.
Dude, that should be like illegal, because when you pay, you're hoping to use that for like, I don't know, a lot of time. Like 1 month is not enough.
Who worked at Wildlight were saying that, you know, like most of the team has been gutted. And then a later report revealed that only about 20 developers remain, trying to like keep the game updated. But the fate of Wildlight and Highguard was sealed at that point. The end result is that today on March 3rd, 2026, they have officially announced that this will be Highguard's.
Listen, I don't think. Let me think. So, Highguard sucked because it was bland and boring. I'm wondering if they would have put attractive characters into it, would it have had a better chance? I feel like a little, but gameplay was still fucking stale, so it wouldn't have saved it entirely, but it would have helped just maybe a little, yeah. Maybe more characters and a little bit more riveting gameplay.
Final update that'll be arriving soon. Here's the full statement. Today, we're sharing difficult news. We made the decision to permanently shut down Highguard on March 12th.
Bro, that was so quick. It was so quick. That's so embarrassing. Remember when they were saying that, like, we will do like really good content. It doesn't matter if it will be a 100 player or like a million players playing it or something. I remember.
Launch, more than 2 million players stepped into Highguard's world. You shared feedback, created content, and many believed in what we were building. For that, we are deeply grateful.
Do you think that they are going to, I don't know, like rework the game and release it again? Or what's even the precedent here? Do they just like put it into the trash and it's like, thank you so much! Thank you for the 5 gifted. This IP is dead. I mean, yeah, but can they like recycle parts or something? Concord lasted 14 days. Okay, the bar is low. The bar is very, very low.
The fact that 2 million players checked the game out and ultimately most of them decided to not stay goes to highlight that the issues surrounding Highguard were deeper than just its failed marketing campaign. The way it was announced at the Game Awards as
It's okay. Marathon will be so much better. You will see. It will be 10 out of 10. Break records. It will be just fine.
the big finale, a live service that just didn't have a particularly impressive trailer that garnered a lot of negative feedback because of the spotlight that that slot at the Game Awards brings to any game. And if the game itself doesn't feel...
I'm so sorry. I noticed something and I have to point out, please don't be mad at me. Do you think that's cum on his shirt? Or did he just like eat something? It's very suspicious, like whitish droplets. On his shirt. Could be anything really. I won't tell him, my bro. Okay, that's based.
Worthy of that spotlight, then the spotlight turns incredibly sour. That's kind of what happened to Highguard, and I think it ultimately ended up biting the game in the ass when it comes to like an optics.
What do you think he was watching? I don't know. Super Mario Corn
standpoint.
But it's just the Goombas.
But it wasn't just that. While Highguard was a valiant effort, the fact remains that the game had a lot of issues. And if those issues didn't exist, and if they didn't have the, what former developers called hubris to think that they could just replicate what worked with Apex Legends.
I can't believe that they shut up. They are shutting down within a month. I was actually so emotionally invested in this game. I don't know why. I was just hyper fixated watching the numbers go down from week to week to week, and in my head I never thought that it's actually going to be like, yep, wrap it up, we're leaving, because they promised a year of upkeep, and I was like, ah, how low can we go? And now they are just like, well
and try to just do a redo of that with Highguard. If they had the sense to host a beta and really listen to player feedback and overhaul it before...
Screw checking each Thursday determined the end day. I know, I was waiting. It's not the way I wanted it to go. I wanted to fizzle out naturally, not like this.
Or truly launching it, I think Highguard would have stood more of a chance because what ideas they were going for would have been more refined. It was a valiant idea that did try something kind of new, but the execution was just flawed enough that it...
Did it? What was new about it? How little amount of characters you had? Or like how gray the game can be? The horns? Is it? Having a horse under you before you run into the middle is new? I don't know. I mean, that's like, listen, how is the difference from example, like going into World of Warcraft and running a war song? Like, you run in with your horse, then you PvP in the middle, and then, I don't know. It's not that big of a deal.
It didn't allow that player retention. It didn't pave the road for 2 million players ultimately deciding that this was...
Screw normie terms, please. Don't worry about it.
Worth their time
PvP
above
area.
all the other live services in this oversaturated market. Yeah, permanently shutting down on March 12th means that the game is shutting down just a mere...
No wonder that there are more people playing it. They're like, yeah, we are going to play it as long as we can because it shuts down within basically a week. It shuts down in like 8 days or whatnot.
45 days after its launch, and it just feels like more and more live services are shutting down sooner and sooner.
Skip play it once before it goes and stream it. I don't think so.
Sooner after its release. And this is not something that I celebrate.
So.
I would have loved for Highguard to go far and above the expectations and the high bar that comes with being featured as the Game Awards big finale. Unfortunately, it just quite didn't. And while Highguard wasn't as bad as what happened with Concord, it still comes kind of close. Concord died just 14 days after launch. Highguard died 45 days after launch, which is better, but really...
I mean, it's pretty good, question mark.
Really not by much. The statement continues, despite the passion and hard work of our team, we have not been able to build a sustainable player base to support the game long term. Servers will remain online until March 12th. We hope you'll jump in with us one more time to show your support and get those final great matches in.
What was that other game that came out and it was really disappointing a few years ago? It was like around when Apex launched. It wasn't Destiny. Was it Destiny? Remember. It was like and Anthem. Yes. Oh my god. I wonder how fast Anthem shut down.
While we still can. Yeah, I mean, sustainability is a key factor with any live service, and with Highguard in particular, it was actually funded by Tencent, something that wasn't disclosed from the outset, which felt a little weird, but basically, Tencent helped
I cannot not look at the stains of his shirt. I am mesmerized.
Fund the game, and their continued funding was contingent on Highguard meeting certain metrics that it clearly woefully fell short of, at which point Tencent decided to cut funding, which is when all of the layoffs started to happen, not monetizing well enough for this project to break even given the high cost of maintaining.
Can they sue someone for this? Like, I feel like if you launch a game that had been in development for so long and you put like millions and millions into it and it flops so fucking hard.
Hear me out, it would have been cool if they made it like Battlefield and made it like a 10v10 or 20v20 cause the map was enormous. If you took away some abilities and made more to not overwhelm the player, I think that would have worked.
I don't understand how could they launch on such a gigantic map with only a 3v3 with only like what, how many? They had 9 characters? That's insane. They should have launched 5v5 definitely being included, and they should have launched at least minimum with 15 characters. I think. Minimum. If not more.
Yet, of course, they had no choice but to shut it down. But this all begs the question of how worth it is it really to pursue a games as a service when this is a kind of product that if you don't meet a certain standard, it can fall apart in just 45 days. That is ridiculous and insane. Pursuing a live service, especially as a brand new studio that sure might be composed of veterans, but you're still an unproven new studio.
Okay, not gonna lie, I think it matters that none of the characters were hot. Like, I've worked, I know it's not the same, but I worked for a gacha game. And that gacha game wasn't good gameplay-wise. It was really basic, really by any means. But the characters were all attractive and they made so much money out of it that they could launch the next game that was much better. I think it would have mattered. I know it wouldn't have saved it, but it would have helped.
Studio with a
Blitz is like, I didn't even say the name of the game and you're calling it out by name. Hello? Wow, it was on the nose, wasn't it?
Brand new live service in an oversaturated market while being so financially strapped that if you're not successful, then you can fall apart in 45 days. To me, it's just like such an irresponsible model to pursue. It's this all or nothing approach with no safety net that I think doesn't serve well to be the first project that a brand new game studio tackles. I think they have to build up to a point where they're able to tackle something like this and still have a safety net. And I know the developers made their best efforts and truly believed in this.
Did they though? Did they actually make their best efforts?
Project, and they got a lot of good internal feedback, but that was also part of the hubris where the conditions in which they got that internal feedback were different from the conditions surrounding the game being out in the wild and being played by players who don't have developers on their side.
Wait. The team is excited to release one final game update to enjoy the remaining game of the that's like 1 week. It's like they were like March 3. Hey, you have 9 days. Anyways, we did this update. Good luck, have fun. Anyways, we are throwing it away.
To guide them through stuff, or who might be playing with strangers,
so
where there's a lot of
sad.
internal tests. You know, it involves a group of people who are collaborating together to play the game. It's just a very different environment, and that internal feedback that was so overwhelmingly positive, but without the proper environment and without all of the beta tests to the public to really gauge like what people really think outside of that bubble. The over-reliance on that was another major downfall of Highguard. But yeah, Highguard will release some final bits of content before it comes to an end. It reads right
Dude, even the Ackman says, you guys had a year-long roadmap, though. Literally, what the fuck was the point of this game? You're not even going to entertain the thought that it could be blah, 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 blah. I'm surprised too. I feel like that they realized that it's literally not worth running the servers, that they are leaking fucking money and no one gives two fucks about it. And they were just like, yep, whatever, failure, fire everyone, moving on, next slap.
Here, the team is excited to release one final game update to enjoy the remaining life of the game. We'll be adding a new war.
And skill trees, they said it so excitedly. It's like, wow, account level progression, skill trees, a new weapon.
A new weapon, account level progression, and skill trees. Full patch notes are coming, and we're targeting tonight or tomorrow morning for patch release. From all of us at Wildlight, thank you for playing, for supporting us, and for being part of Highguard's story. But yeah, I think what it ultimately comes down to are a lot of like strategic missteps and a lot of decisions made from a place that, just from the words of former developers, is described as hubris, because of the fact that once upon a time they worked on all of these mega hits like Titanfall, which, you know, didn't perform well but was still well beloved and paved the road to what ended up being the mega hit Apex Legends. But Apex Legends came around.
Oh, I did. What? These people worked on Apex.
Around the time when Battle Royale was explosively popular, when that market wasn't super oversaturated, and it had the
How did one perform so well and how did the other just basically was born, farted, and died?
Spawn name to kind of back it as well, to just give it that much more of a level of prominence. Wildlight had none of that with Highguard. It tackled a new genre, I suppose, that ultimately is a combination of a bunch of existing genres, and it still leaned enough into existing gameplay tropes, and the execution was lacking enough that ultimately this was a game that could not stand out from the pack and came in at a time when it's more difficult than ever to break.
I hate to say this, but I'm glad that the game is shutting down, because they had multiple chances to course correct and appeal to gamers, but decided to 1% of the crowd on Twitter. If means that people lose their job, then I'm okay with this. Honestly, based and fair. I think also developers have to understand that if they will keep working on projects like this, that is so idealistic and out of nowhere, then I'm sorry, you deserve to lose your job. You have to understand that no one fucking cares for this slop. If you're a game developer, you have to have enough understanding who are the gamers and what do they want.
Break into the live service market. So I think Highguard ultimately, like, it sucks that it all played out the way it did. I wish Highguard could have been massively successful and it could have, surpassed.
Honestly, I think that the game dev pampering went way too far. Well, at least this is going to be a wake-up call,
Expectations surrounding it, but that's just not
hopefully.
what ultimately ended up happening. And I think mainly Highguard is a cautionary tale of like some of the things that you shouldn't do, especially when you're trying to ship a live service. But it feels like
I just don't understand who this game was for. Who was the target audience? You see, it's a good question because it wasn't even like too DEI. It was just incredibly boring and sort of uninspired, And it was like undercooked, like there wasn't enough character, there wasn't enough weapon, everything was sort of gray and dull, and the map was empty and very generic.
History tends to repeat itself over and over again when it comes to games as a service, because ultimately it is just that risky of an endeavor to the point where, if you miss metrics by a certain degree.
I mean, it's very obvious who they wanted. They wanted like the Arc Raiders people. They wanted the Apex people. Maybe snip a little bit. I wanted to say snip a little bit from Fortnite, but that's a very different demographic. I think they probably wanted like to snip away from Apex, but I don't know, man.
Then you can fall apart in mere days. And if you ask me, no model that has that severe of a risk is worth pursuing, especially as your first ever project, when like all of your success and all of your ability to just even be able to keep the lights on is riding on its success, especially when it's free to play. To me, Highguard just ultimately, in many different facets.
Concord wasn't free to play, right? If I remember correctly, didn't people have to buy the game? And that was also the reason why it flopped so fucking hard. No? Was it free to play? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it had a price tag. So I wonder, it makes me wonder if Concord would have been free to play, just like Highguard, do you think it would have lasted 40-something days? Because
that was good.
Maybe that's the only difference between the two. If Highguard would have been $40 too, it would have failed within like 2 weeks.
Just made no sense. I do wish
Because no one would buy skins. Well, but it's not about just the skins. Maybe the gameplay would have keep people around. Not sure.
the developers who worked on this well. I hope they land on their feet and are able to find other ventures that will allow them to take risks that are like more appropriate for the environment that we're in right now when it comes to the gaming landscape, and are able to ship things that they can not only be really proud of, but are able to do well and it be, you know, something to celebrate rather than it be like this.
I don't know. I'm still saying if I would have been a developer in Concord, I would much rather say that during the development time, I was in jail. You know, I fucking broke into a store and threatened someone with violence. Anything. Just don't let them know that I worked on Concord, man. Please. I don't want to ruin my life.
Really unceremonious and depressing.
I just headbutted a woman. That's it.
End to a project that just really wasn't handled as well as it could have been. But that, folks, is everything I got to say about Highguard's shutdown. It's about as I predicted, though admittedly, it happened even faster than I was expecting. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are and how things played out surrounding Highguard in the comments below. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.
Sir, please clean your t-shirt. It's very distracting that it has cum on it. I'm afraid. There's gives me the bad ideas.